Right, mate. Okay, book 2, Law of Attraction.
Yeah, book 3.
Oh, we're on 3.
We're
we
on 3 now. So this is an interesting one. And again, I've shown you this before, and I've got this on here. So this is a book called Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself, by a guy called Michael A. Singer. And this is interesting because I actually wrote. I was reading this book when I was away once. I think it was before I had that breakdown a year ago when we did the creative writing.
Yes.
And I basically read each chapter, well, most of the chapters, and then I was writing a summary. Welcome to the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you unlock your full potential, both mentally and physically, to become the best version of you. Welcome back to another episode of the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you both mentally and physically become the best version of yourself. Today I'm with my good friend Mr. Mikey Markham. How are we?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. I kind of stumbled then in the intro, a bit weird. I forgot where I was.
What happened to you, mate?
I don't know. I know.
It's all gone. Downhill from here.
For those people who don't know, Mikey is the co-host of the podcast. So if this is your first time listening, wondering who the hell is this random guy that I've got talking, Mikey is the co-host of the podcast. He's also the guy that makes it look all beautiful on Spotify. He does all the video stuff. He's a massive part of the Prime Life Project behind the scenes. So I said I'd get him on to be my co-host when I don't have a guest on, or when I don't fancy just going absolutely crazy and just shouting down the microphone for an hour, like 25-minute rant.
I'm blushing over here, mate.
You bring some value.
Yeah.
I mean, you got face for radio, which is why we do the thing on the Thursday. So
go on, BBC.
So like I said, so Mikey again got us on to the BBC doing the Circle of Men. Circle of Men.
Yeah, is it? Yeah.
So this is me, a guy called Aaron Werner, who's the BBC Radio Nottingham DJ. You've got Mikey, and we've also got a guy called Dan Tind as well. So us four. If you haven't listened to that, you don't have to be from Nottingham. You can listen to us on a DAB radio as well. But that's 8 p.m. every single Thursday. Circle of Men. It's basically just us four, just basically sat around like you kind of would do in a men's circle, and then basically Aaron sort of asks us questions. It's normally like a therapy session for Aaron, isn't it? Really, let's be honest. So the DJ,
I think he's
Aaron,
aware to that, isn't he?
Yeah. He basically has some issues going on in his life, and he wants to get 3 guys' opinions on it, which you basically have a real good back and forth. So if you haven't listened to that, again, I strongly recommend that, checking it out. But I think today's episode, because again, bringing Mikey on, the structure of this episode is normally just me and Mikey just having a really relaxed dialogue. There's no sort of real structure or format to this. It's sort of Mikey more asking questions at me and leading the conversation. But he said to me today, like, I want to do one about you recommended books. And that's what we did last time, wasn't it, BBC Radio Nottingham. And I think that was a really sort of cool thing. So basically Aaron got all of us to bring a book in. There's only one book each. Actually, I'm actually looking forward to this. So what's the crack with this then?
It's also a bit selfish for me, but one of my resolutions is to really get into books and reading. I've always done audio, but I think I'm cheating a little bit there. So I wanted to sort of hear from you what the best books have been for you, the most transformative, the most powerful books. So that was an idea I had, because I'm probably sneakily going to go off and get them when I've done with this.
Well, I don't blame you. Like I said, you heard the favourite ones, but like, so what have I actually done with this as well? So the first book I'm going to actually talk about is a book called The Art of Being Brilliant, with a guy called Andy Cope and Andy Whitaker. So for those of you that are long-time listeners of the podcast, you'll know I actually did a podcast with Andy Cope. He's now a doctor, Dr. Andy Cope, and that was on his new book called The Happiness Revolution. So that's also a book I do recommend. That's really, really good. And again, get Mikey to pop up on the screen if you're watching this, the episode number for that episode with Dr. Andy Cope, because that was awesome. But The Art of Being Brilliant is actually a book that I recommend all my clients read. So I've actually got a client of mine here. So basically said to one of my clients, like, I put it out to my client about, like, clients, like, what have you taken from this? And one person said that they learned about mood hoovers. So the thing I like about this book is it talks about a lot of things. So I recommend all my clients have to read this. So it's not non-negotiable. They have to, when they sign up with me, they have to read this book. And I actually send them a copy.
Is that one of the clauses?
It's one of the clauses.
Really?
Yeah,
okay,
so
that's cool.
Have to read this. So all my clients have to read 10 pages a day of a non-fiction book, and I basically recommend they get this book. So that's basically the one that they start with. So basically they get this book and basically they read it, because there's activities in the book as well.
Oh wow! That, just as you flick through them.
So the blue page are activities. It's really easy, light read. The thing I like about this book is, again, I wasn't a strong reader when I first read this book. But it's a really, really easy read. It's a light read, and I've read this book 12 times. The audiobook is also really, really good. It's not read by one of them, it's read by someone else, but his narration is amazing. It's a really funny book, and it talks about some very, very deep topics that you don't know are deep unless you've actually done some work. So every time I've read this book, the reason I've read it so many times is when I first read it, I learned about mood hoovers and energy vampires. And then I went through some stuff, came back, read it again, and then I learned more because there's more there. And every single time, even now if I've read this book, I pick up something new that I didn't realise. There's just so many layers to it, and it's so cleverly written. So I recommend this to my clients to start off with, and again, recommend anyone listening to this to start off with this book, because what I then say after this is, right, what did you like about that? What route do you want to go down? Because there's so many different avenues this book opens up, and then it's like, well, what resonated with you? And maybe like, I want to learn more about myself. Okay, cool. I want to learn more about setting boundaries. Okay, well, here's this book. I want to learn more about this. And basically I just send them off on different books, that makes sense. So it's read this, and then where does it take you? And again, another client of mine here said The Art of Being Brilliant is my ultimate favourite book. I love that the philosophy is made simple in a down-to-earth manner with humour throughout. It most definitely has made me mindful every day to think positive thoughts, which create positive results. Such great shifts in thinking and the power of language that we used to ourselves and others. That was profound. What was profound is the realization that we all control our own happiness internally and absolutely not externally. That's what my client said. That's the power of this book. So The Art of Being Brilliant is definitely the one that I should recommend first.
What took you to it? Can you remember?
Yeah. So for instance, this is. So I read this book years ago before I was into any of this self-help stuff, and again, it was with a girlfriend at the time. A girl called Rebecca McAllister. I remember my story when I was at school, and they said there was a beauty queen.
Yes.
And I broke up because I thought it was too good for her.
What episode's that?
I don't think that's an episode. Did we talk about that in my episode?
Maybe it's
you've heard about it when you come to my school. I talk about it in schools.
Yes.
So again, if anyone doesn't know this story, I talk about it when I'm in schools, very open and honest. So when I was hilarious. Anyone listening to this audio, there's an ice cream van that's just driving past outside, so you might be able to hear the ice cream van literally pulling up outside. Hilarious.
Can you imagine watching this and the next shot's just me and you with an ice cream?
3 minutes later, just sat there, ice cream all around her face. So yeah, we've got the ice cream there. So going back to the story, so a girl called Rebecca McAllister. So this was again when I was very heavily involved in my modelling career. This is the very start of my modelling career. So this girl was a beauty queen, so she was Miss Derby. Absolutely incredible person inside and out. Like, yes, she was a beautiful person, but actually inside, absolutely amazing. She's a teacher. Incredible human being, and I basically was just a horrible human being. I was not okay mentally, and basically I broke up with her to pursue my modelling career, and I literally said to her that I was too good for her, and she was holding me back, and that basically needed to go off and be this amazing model. I look back now, and I am disgusted at that version of me, absolutely vile, because regardless of whether I thought that or not, but the way that I would have articulated it is horrible, and she deserved better because she really stood by me through a rough patch. Again, not necessarily depression, but I had a lot of work issues going on. There's a lot of stuff that was going on in my life, and she stood by me a lot. She's a teacher. So again, Andy Cope does a lot of stuff with schools. So that's where she said to me, like, oh, you need to check this book out. So she recommended it to me. I read it, absolutely loved it, and that was the first self-help book that I read that actually got me into self-help books. And the sad thing about this is she's got no idea how much she helped me.
Right. Oh, wow.
On a number of levels, and it really hurts me. So I think she's married now. I think she's got a kid. No way of contacting her at all. But it's one thing that I'd love to just say, like, thank you very much. I'm sorry, and thank you. Like, just a genuine apology for the kind of person I was. Obviously, I think I'm for a reason, because obviously she's married now, got that. And again, happened for me as well. And the only consolation I can take from how I acted was I actually did do what I said I was going to do. So I didn't just break up with her and say I'm going to go do this thing and then not do it. I actually went and did it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Still doesn't take away from the fact of how I treated her. But yeah, she's the one that recommended it to me. Brilliant book.
Oh, wow. And the reason you recommend it to people then is because it's the perfect starter kit
100%.
for self-help. It's
Absolutely.
Digestible.
It's very easy. It's funny. It's a funny book.
Yeah.
It's an easy, funny book. And again, it's very, very British humour. However, I've recommended it to all my American clients as well. So yes, it is a British humour book. Again, he talks about being from Mansfield and stuff like that and joking about that. So again, that's a very Nottingham-based joke as well. But it's you'll get it, and it's really funny. He talks about like mood hoovers, energy vampires, just all these things. Again, one of my clients said to me the other day about this book. There's a part in the book where he talks about an old guy going to an attic to basically find something, and what he does, he finds his old diary. So he finds his old kid's diary, and basically it says in there something about best day ever, went fishing with my dad, and he was like, oh, this is interesting. So he went to go find his diary. I looked at the same thing, and basically his dad had wrote something along the lines of, what a wasted day, spent time fishing with my son. And basically just then made him realise, actually, like, this is the best day of this son's life, but how he remembers it and how he wrote it in his diary was it was a wasted day. And again, just poses the question of, like, do you mean being more present, being more mindful, like, do you mean, it's a very, very, very well-written book. And like I said, I always recommend clients read it rather than listen to it on the audio, on Audible. However, whether listening platforms are available. But when you listen to it on Audible, it is a very good audiobook as well. And
even if you feel yourself sort of dipping at all, is that your sort of go-to back to the Art of Being Brilliant? So I wouldn't even say that. So I don't really necessarily have if I'm dipping, I don't necessarily go back and reread books. I reread that book because I enjoy it. That's, again, the power of that book. I don't need to read it. It's every now and again I'm like,
oh, I just want to just listen to it.
Yeah.
So I will just listen to it. I listen to it now. I've read it enough times. I will listen to it. But it's just a very, very good book. So I don't normally necessarily go back to any books, if that makes sense. There's a book I'm currently reading, that really old book. I'm still in the process of reading that. So I will keep going back to that book. But normally, once I've read a book, I don't go back to it unless I need to read it for reference, if that makes sense.
And the last thing about it is the mood hoovers and energy vampires.
Yep.
Could you just give me a bit of a breakdown of that? Because I've heard it a lot. I think I've got a good rough idea about what it is, but how does that book decipher that?
Basically talks about we all know someone that for every solution there's a problem.
Yeah.
That's what it talks about. Like, so basically in life, we all know these kind of people where you're from the solution, but there's always a problem.
Yes.
That kind of person. That basically talks about that. So basically saying, don't be a mood hoover, an energy vampire. I think he uses an analogy as well about dustbin lorries. And basically most people walk around and just empty their rubbish into people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's basically don't be that person. Don't be a mood hoover. Don't be an energy vampire. So essentially a mood hoover is someone that always brings down the room. So like they always come in. So that doesn't mean you're talking positively and then someone comes in, like they're then bringing in their negative energy in here. They're moody, they're sad. And again, there's nothing wrong with that because again, we want free expression. But if that's all that you're bringing deliberately and you're not thinking of like, well, what impact you're having on other people, you're then draining our energy, if that makes sense. And again, if it's coming from a constructive place, like you always want to listen. So this is not for a single second saying if you're struggling with mental health, you don't reach out. That's not what we're saying at all here. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what the book's saying at all. But it's just understanding that if you're constantly being a negative drain on your friend's life and you're not giving anything back, because that's what this is all about. Energy vampire. So you're sucking someone's energy. It should be give and take. So that if you ever come in and you're feeling negative and low, okay, cool. Like, well, you can then take from me that day, but actually the next day, I'll probably take from you. It's how it works. It's a reciprocal thing. And that's the problem in life, is that you get a lot of people that are surrounded by you, potentially, and all they do is just take, especially if you're a very, very bubbly person. Because you're there and you've got your routine, you've got yourself together, you're happy, you're motivated, life's amazing. But then your friend next to you struggling, and they may consciously or unconsciously come and just take all that energy. Not deliberately, because if you just set no boundaries there, then they're going to come and do that. And again, it's not saying that person's doing it intentionally, but it's just understanding you've got to sort of set those boundaries and understand. First of all, ask yourself, are you a mood hoover or an energy vampire? If the answer is yes, then right, you need to, again, do this work that myself and the guests talk about.
Reevaluate.
If you're always in a negative headspace, again, first of all, like, are you actually okay? If you're not okay, like my guests say, go and get some help. Go seek some actual professional help. Talk about it to someone, a professional, or actually talk to your friends about it in a constructive way. You see, there's a difference there between me coming in and just bombarding you with negativity. There's a difference between that and being like, Mikey, I'm not okay. I'm struggling. That's the difference. Where when me just coming in every day and just moaning, that's, I can be perfectly fine and just be moaning. Does that make sense? Again, I hope I'm explaining it okay. Like
You
there's
are.
a difference to that.
And then does he take the audience on a bit of a path on how to move away from being that person?
Yes. Yeah.
Again,
Again, it's not very deep. Like
Yeah.
this isn't a book where you're going to read it and completely transform your life. It's the awareness. The thing about this book is it brings awareness. And again, the thing with this is it's got the questions in the back. After each chapter, there's like questions. So it gets you to come up with your own sort of answers, and it asks the questions in the chapter you're learning about it. And again, it's not very heavy, as in like it's very deep stuff, but uses stories and metaphors.
But empowering,
exactly. So you go through the chapter, and it's not just a case of this is a mood hoover, this is an energy vampire, this is
I
what
like
they do.
this. This
he
is
uses
ace.
stories, so you're there, and it's really funny, it's really light-hearted, and then he summarises it at the end of like.
It's a guide, but it's a guide to help you become your own guide.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really, really good book. So the Art of Being Brilliant is definitely, like I said, all my clients. Again, it's the first book they have to read with me. The Art of Being Brilliant. There you go.
Mate, one down. Another to go.
Yeah, the second one.
Have you put them in order in a certain way? Or?
I'm going to say yes, I have put them in order, but not necessarily potentially intentionally. So, so the book that I brought onto the radio last week was this book here, The Law of Attraction, because again, Aaron said, what's the book that's most sort of transformed your life? And it would be this book, The Law of Attraction. This is the one. So it's called The Law of Attraction, the science of attracting more of what you want and less of what you don't want. And it's with a guy called Michael Logier. So again, I think I've mentioned this guy 1,000,001 times on this podcast. If you have not checked out the episode, go and check it out. It's episode number 30, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it number 30?
It is, yeah. I put it in recently.
Yeah, episode number 30, Michael Logier. Like, please just go and check out that episode. The guy is absolutely insane. And this book was the first book that I read. I was not in a good place. I heard it mentioned on the podcast. And it's the first book that basically helped me realise what this whole thing of law of attraction was. And more importantly, about energy and taking control of our energy and basically understanding that in life, you can take complete control of where you're going. So there's a quote here from this book. I meant to read it on the radio the other day, but I actually didn't get around to reading it out. So let me just quickly find this This quote here. So this is actually one of the biggest things I took from this book about affirmations. So this is a quote from the book. A positive affirmation can have a negative vibration. Most affirmations don't work because the law of attraction doesn't respond to words. It responds to how you feel about the words you use. So, for example, the example used on the radio, it's like if you're trying to say you're going to be something like, I'm going to be happy and meet the partner of my dreams, but you're miserable and your relationship always sucks. So you try and put that positive out there, positivity. That little voice inside your head turns around and says, "No, you won't. You're an absolute loser." Then the positivity you're trying to put out there gets cancelled out. Because although you're saying the right things, your feelings, your emotions are cancelling out. So again, what we use with this is the book that single-handedly helped me build the life I've got today. So again, when I'm in the shower, I still do affirmations today. So my affirmations today, like what I do is, I'm successful, I'm affluent, I'm abundant, I'm financially free. I'm helping as many people as possible, both mentally and physically, become the best versions of themselves. I'm choosing my thoughts and I'm enough. Every single morning I say that. But when I started out, I literally started out with, I think, 3 or 4. And I'm in the process of becoming successful. I'm in the process of becoming affluent. I'm in the process of becoming abundant. I'm in the process of becoming financially free. Because at that time, I was broke, I had no clients, and my life was an absolute mess. So for me to say, I'm successful, then I was like, well, I'm not successful.
Right.
So I'm trying to say I'm successful. But everything in my life is not successful. So that little voice inside my head would be like, you're lying.
Faking it.
You are absolutely lying. So I try and put that positivity out there. Bam, straight away, that little voice inside my head cuts that out. So it cancels it, becomes neutral. Whereas actually if I'm saying I'm in the process of becoming successful, the very art of me saying I am in the process, that means I am in the process.
Yeah.
So that voice can't say anything. Because by me saying it, I am in the process. Because
How does
part
it
of me
combat
saying
that?
exactly, you can't combat that. So then it cancels out that negativity. So again, it's also understand that when it comes to law of attraction, stuff like that, it's like people think it doesn't work because they only spend 5, 10, 15 minutes, even if it's just an hour a day trying to be positive. If the predominant thing that you're putting out there subconsciously is negativity, you will never combat that. You have to turn what you predominantly think about positive. Your subconscious brain has to turn positive because if you're constantly subconsciously thinking about negative, that's all you're going to attract. Even if you try and portray this positive image, if everything under the surface, like an iceberg, you're trying to portray this little top 10% is positive, but if the other 90 is negative, that is what you're going to get. So people are like, I didn't attract this. You did. And this book really helps. And again, it's a really simple, basic, easy book. And again, it's got examples in here, which is what I like as well, like a real practical book. And again, on the Circle of Men, Dan Tyndall mentioned about the book The Secret.
Yes.
Now, Michael Logier actually really smartly renamed this book, The Law of Attraction, The Secret Behind the Secret. Because again, the law of attraction does not work. It's not a case of, it does work, sorry, it only works if you take action. So you can't just sit there and wish for things to happen. It doesn't work that way. And this is a really good, like, no BS book about the law of attraction and how it actually works. It talks about your energy bubble, so again, we talk about mood hoovers and energy vampires, just being aware of your energy, your vibrations, because people talk about vibes. Oh, it's got good vibes. What does vibes mean? Vibrations. Vibes is short for vibrations. Don't think about that. I love their vibes. What they're really saying is I love their vibration. I've got good energy about them. What does that mean? The vibrations. It's all
And like
vibrations.
you've said before, there's a science behind that now.
Yeah, science behind it. So basically now look at quantum physics. It basically backs it all up. So again, this is a really good book. And like I said to you before, there's a book I'm reading behind me now that's literally from 1904. And that is a book completely on the law of attraction. And it's hundreds of pages. So this stuff has been known for a long, long time. And like I said, Michael Logier is the first guy that I know that's put into a really good book.
Is it not very jargony?
No, not jargony at all. So I'm just going to pick a random page here and see what it says. That's about relationships. Let's look here. Observing contrast is essential because it helps you to become clear about what you do want. So again, it talks about here, it's really important with this about when it comes to goal settings. So about identifying your desires, what do you actually want? So again, this is where I learned this. So it talks about here that when you've got to identify what you want. If you don't know what you do want, write down what you don't want. Again, I think it's one of the first books I learned that from. So people say, so what don't you want? So write down what you don't want and then you can contrast it. Because it's really easy, like, what do I want? I don't know what I want. Okay, what don't you want? I don't want to work a 9-to-5 job. Okay, so you want to work flexible hours. Okay, there we go. I don't want to be broke. Okay, so you want to be financially free. I don't want to be driving around all the time. Okay, so you want a job that's local. I don't want a guy that comes in and just and always makes me pay. Okay, so you want a guy that's financially stable. Do you mean what don't you want, and then flip it, and then it gives you what you do want, and then it gives you something to focus on. Because again, if you don't know what, and this thing in life, if you don't know what you're focusing on, if you don't know what you want, you're not going to get it. So again, he talks about a real path. You need to have a clear thing of what do you actually want, because when it comes to law of attraction, like what you put out is what you get, but what are you putting out? What do you actually want? If you don't know, how can you attract it into your life? How can you attract it? You can't.
Again, was this quite early on in your self-development days?
This was the first book, really. So the first self-help book was The Art of Being Brilliant.
Yeah.
And the first book I read that was like, wow, this is actually changing my life, was this one. Because I heard it on a podcast, and I was just like, I like this, like, wow, I need to listen to this. So I need to read this. I was like, so I literally picked up and read it, and again, I was in a very desperate place. So I think after I did this is when I spent the remainder of my, I think at this time, I was in a lot of debt, and I think in my bank balance I had £200 at the time, and I spent that £200 on a Tony Robbins course. So I read this book, and I spent my last £200 on a Tony Robbins course. And that was it. And that, literally, and my girlfriend at the time said, "You're an absolute idiot." And again, this is where it comes into my life, and it's a bit bizarre. Like, people have always said to me, and it's important for the listeners here as well, like, I know where my life's going, and I have done for a very long time. And even then, I knew that by me spending that £200, it gave me no choice but to listen to what Tony Robbins said. And then listen to what he said, and then guess what? I was able to get myself out of that financial problem. It's just bizarre. So everything happened. Like, I knew exactly what I was doing, and she was calling me an idiot, but I backed myself. I was like, no. I need to do this because now I have no choice. If I spend this £200, I literally now have nothing, which means I then have to listen to what I bought and actually implement it. Otherwise, I've just wasted it and I've screwed myself.
So would you attribute Tony Robbins and this book to how you got out of that financial
100%.
problem?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But that's it. It's more. It just gave me the what's the word? The awareness that I'm in control.
Yes.
Because before, like I said before, we use the analogy when it comes to anything, like floating down the river when you talk about
Life was happening to you.
Yeah, like the free will episode. Like for me, everyone's just floating down a river. Every single person, whether they know it or not. And this one talks about law of attraction. Like Michael Logier says, he doesn't care if you believe it or not. Like, it's there. Whether you believe it or not, it is always working. It's like gravity. You may believe in gravity or not, but if you step off a roof, like, trust me, like, you're going to know it works. Same with law of attraction. It doesn't care if you think it works. It works. It's constantly doing what it is.
It's an energy field.
Exactly. So right now, it's like in life, whether you know it or not, you are going down a river. And that river is to your death. As morbid as that sounds, like, you've been born and you're now on a river. And most people are just on that river, and people in their life will basically just steer the boat one way or the next, and then they get to the end of the road and they're like, oh, this is kind of what my life's been. But all the stuff that I've researched, especially when it starts here with law of attraction, this is the real key book. All the other stuff is you can steer your own boat. You just have to know how to steer it, and you need to know where you're steering it to. You can't change the direction of the river, but you can steer that boat. If you don't steer it, then life will determine it for you.
Yeah, it's that awareness, isn't it? That
Absolutely.
even when you've had a good time, people don't have this awareness of how they steered that boat. So they just keep on, and then they can't recreate that good time because they don't know how they got there.
Yep.
So it's creating that awareness again.
And some people in life will literally go for their entire life and have no awareness of this stuff.
Yeah.
And be completely successful, have an amazing life, and cool. And that's amazing for them. Like, doing it broken clocks right twice a day.
Probably an anomaly, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's it. It's just a case of, like, it's just complete random look of the draw.
Yeah.
Like throwing a dice, I can just throw it down and get 2 6s.
Yeah.
Do you mean, like, okay, cool, but can I do that again? Is that a game of poker? I just literally happen to have this hand. Okay, cool, but what if you could actually strategically create that hand? What if you could actually literally pick that dice up and just move it? Oh, that's a 5.
Yeah,
no, don't want a
yeah.
5. Oh, do I need a 4?
Yeah,
No. Oh,
that's
6.
That's a good analogy.
So wouldn't it be better if you could throw the dice
Yeah.
and actually know, actually, I can change that dice. It's not on a 6. Cool, what do I need it to be? Or if you get this deck of cards, it's like, well, actually, I don't need this 1. I need an ace. So you take the 1 out, and so not an ace, you need a king. So take whatever it is, if you could actually, and you can. The problem is we're just not taught, and again, make that sound really easy, but analogy, but super, super hard.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah, but it's like the people don't know, which came up off the top of my head, so I don't know if it works.
Should have used Stranger Things.
I listen back to it and be like, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But this is where, again, I'm completely in this flow state again. I'm just talking, I don't know what I'm talking about. But my point is, when it comes to this, and law of attraction stuff, like, just understanding that, yes, some people in their life get these amazing results and don't know how they did it, but you can actually take control, and it's super, super hard. No matter where you are in life, you can do it. It's understanding how the universe actually works. Like, there's laws, there's rules to certain things, and you have to abide by them. If you don't, then that's what you get.
You become the author or the director.
Absolutely, that's what you want.
Yeah.
But you can create your own life. Because again, this is also the thing that bothers me about this stuff. Like, you see people post quotes on Instagram all the time, but people don't actually understand what the quotes mean. They don't understand. They just post these things like, oh, that's really cool, it's really motivational, nice. But they don't understand what those quotes actually mean. But it's actually understanding it the more, and I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but understand that these quotes
be the change you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, be the change you want to see. What does that mean? It means be the person that you want to be, and the good things will happen. There's so many quotes like that. It's like just read deeper into this sort of stuff when it comes to energy fields, blah blah blah, like, and you'll be like, wow. And I recommend you start with Law of Attraction. Like I said, it's a really easy book. Everyone's kind of heard of Law of Attraction. Really easy book. Strongly recommend you do it. Also, if you don't want to read the book, just type in Michael Lozier. Well, first of all, listen to podcasts, because the podcast he did on here was basically just him talking to me. It was like a seminar, basically.
Nice.
It wasn't even a podcast, it was a seminar of just him talking. So you will learn about him and the book. After you've then listened to the podcast, go watch him on YouTube, because there's one of his workshops on there, and again, he explains it there as well. So again, he's absolutely brilliant. Again, he talks about using the words don't, not, and no. I just don't use those words.
Wow, okay.
I don't want that. I don't want that. What are you saying to the universe? You're giving it energy. So, do you know what I mean? If I'm turning around saying, I don't want to crash my car. I don't want to crash my car. What am I really saying? If it's like on Google, if you type in Google, don't show me blue cars. What's it going to show you?
Blue cars. Yeah.
So basically, talks about here, the universe doesn't recognise don't, not, and no.
So you're sort of creating that reality.
So I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. And guess what? You end up having this thing.
It gives energy towards it.
Yeah, because you're focusing on things you don't want.
Mm.
If I'm saying I don't want to crash, I don't want to crash.
What does he replace that with then? Words.
Well, so you don't want to crash. Well, what do you want?
I want.
I want to drive safely.
Oh.
I don't want to crash. Don't want to crash. Don't want to crash. Okay, what do you want?
Okay.
I want to crash. I want to drive safely. Okay, focus on driving safely. Not I don't want to crash.
Nice. I really like that.
That's what it is. Just don't focus on what
Take
you
it
don't want.
from a negative
Yeah,
to
because you're giving it energy.
Yeah, I like that. Last question on this book. When
By
you
the way,
start,
I've not read any of these books for a long time, so right now I'm ahead of Mike. Yeah.
well, no, more when you started to implement the laws of attraction into your life and have the affirmations and so on that you were talking about. How alien and uncomfortable did that feel, and how fast did you notice something was happening?
Really weird, really uncomfortable. It makes you feel like a bit of a weirdo, but he actually talks about in here about keeping a diary. So when you start practicing it, he basically encourages you to keep a diary so you notice all the things. So basically, like I said, whether you know it or not, the law of attraction's always been working in your life. You just didn't know it.
Yeah.
So basically what it says is pay attention. Because then when you pay attention, you realise that that's what's happening.
Right.
And then it talks about, like, it's one of these ways, when you come from a place of, again, we know this to be true as well, when you come from a place of complete genuine sincerity and you do something, good stuff happens. If you do stuff from a place of negativity, jealousy, just not a good place, we all know...
Contrived, you're pushing it.
We all know that ultimately that doesn't work out how you wanted it to.
Yes.
Because the universe knows. Do you know what I mean? If I'm trying to do something to do you over,
yeah,
I might get that thing, but guess what happens? It doesn't end up either working out or something bad happens off the back of that. We all know that to be true. We all know examples of that. So basically, again, it talks about what you put out is what you get back. You reap what you sow. So put out positivity. Put out. Just be good within your intentions, and good will come back.
A bit like that. Be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's one of the things where I do everything like completely genuine, sincerity, and all that sort of stuff. And again, that's the thing when it comes to stuff that happened recently with me. I left my head held high because I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff I could have done in retaliation. Why would I? Why would I? I don't want to put a negativity
And then
out
you're
there.
not losing sleep over
I
that.
don't want to put a negativity out there. So I'm a big believer in this. And again, it's really, really hard. And this isn't the book that then teaches you other things about how to control that. But again, it's just a real good book to read about understanding the powers. All this, again, if you're a long time listening to the podcast and you've heard about me talk about energy and stuff like that, like, this is a really good book to start with. Yeah, Law of Attraction by Michael Lozier.
That's a great bit of advice there, because I really notice in my life when I've done something and deep down, I know I could have reacted in a better way, acted somehow in a better way. I'll always be reflective on it. And even when I go, I acted in a fine manner, deep down, it scratches at me and there's an irritability. So if you can truly say and with a pure heart go, no, I was good in that manner, that's what sort of helps you sleep at night, sort of thing.
But even then, even if like that's happened, it's then a case of, okay, so that negativity is there, but then reflect on it, learn from it, actually be a good person, and then learn from it. Which you can't undo that. So what's not saying here is like, if you have done something, but then genuinely you've done it, and then you're like, I've done that from a really bad place. Okay.
It'd even be something as simple
what can you
as
do about that?
an argument or just saying a silly word.
What can you do about that? What can you do to rectify that wrong?
Reflect and say sorry often.
Yeah, say sorry. And again, come place complete humble. Because again, what you're doing, you're then putting positivity out there. Genuinely, from a humble, clear heart.
Takes a lot of weight, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And it takes a big person to do that.
Yeah.
So again, obviously sometimes you can't undo things, but it's like for the best you can, like try and rectify those wrongs. Again, law of attraction, karma. What is karma? Action. Karma means action. So like, what action have you put out there? If you put positive out there, you get good karma. But negative out there, bad karma. All energy. It's all energy.
Right, mate. Okay, book 2, Law of Attraction.
Yeah, book 3.
Oh, we're on 3.
Here
we
we're
go.
on 3 now. So this is an interesting one. And again, I've shown you this before, and I've got this on here. So this book called The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself, by a guy called Michael A. Singer. And this is interesting because I actually wrote. I was reading this book when I was away once. I think it was before I had that breakdown a year ago when we did the creative writing.
Yes.
And I basically read each chapter, well, most of the chapters, and then I was writing a summary of the chapters.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just going to read again. I'm going to read. I literally have not read this book either again for a while because I don't go back. Actually, this book I've read. So these books I'm reading, I'm showing right now. These are probably the only 4 books I've ever reread more than once. So that shows you how powerful they actually are. So this book I have read. I've read this 3 times and I've listened to the audio twice. Again, very, very good book. So again, when I'm reading this now and we're talking about it, I've not read this for a while. But the last time I read it was when I wrote these down. So this is like my summary of one of the chapters. And again, when it comes to chapters, let me just, because this is a deep book. This is a bit of a deeper book. This is normally a book I recommend after The Art of Being Brilliant if you want to work on the self. So again, content, part 1, awakening consciousness. So subchapters, the voice inside your head, your inner roommate, who are you, lucid self. Part 2, experiencing energy. Secret spiritual heart, transcending the closeness. Part 3, freeing yourself. Part 4, going beyond. Part 5, living life. So do you mean very deep book? So this thing here is about the voice chapter, one of the sections there. So this is just like my summary of this chapter and how I've sort of understood it and articulated it. The voice allows us to recreate the outside world inside ourselves, and then we live in our mind. Because we can control the mind, whereas we can't control reality, we see the world based on what the voice tells us is important. By living in our heads, we are not living in reality. We are living in a version we think is reality. We create stories about people, places and situations to try to predict the future or rectify the past, all of which are not possible. We are the observer, like the listener. It says here about plant pot analogy, but again, I've clearly not done a good job with this. I actually can't remember what the plant pot analogy is. Clearly in that chapter is a plant pot analogy. It basically says here, get to know the listener and sit in silence and get to know yourself. So again, that's the kind of book this is. It's a really good book about actually, like it says here, the journey beyond yourself. This is a really, really good book for helping you actually understand the voice inside your head and the real version of you and yourself, the true authentic version of you. Because like I said, the biggest problem that people have is they're too inside their own heads and they don't realise. And this is what I've said before, like when I was really struggling at my lowest, like the darkest, and even now when I struggle, I'm too inside my own head. I'm too inside my own head. I cannot control what's going on. I've lost myself. And again, there's another analogy with like we're the sky. So we as a human being, the true authentic version of us, we are the sky. And every now and again, clouds come and thunderstorms come and we lose sight of who we are. But when we understand that this storm can never hurt the sky,
they're not us.
It's not us. And it will pass.
But
sometimes it's really, really hard. Because when you're in the darkest days and you look up and there's just storm clouds everywhere, the sky is still there. The sky is still there. We are the true, authentic version of us is still there. We're just a bit lost in the turbulence. But when you can understand that and transcend through the storm and just gain that awareness, you see the storm from up high, it can't harm you.
And you beat yourself up for creating those clouds and that storm that's got nothing to do with you either.
And again, we talked about this before, and I think I said on your podcast where I spoke about that girl tried to kill me, and that ex-girlfriend, or had it said tried to kill me, had that knife to my throat. And I basically told you that story. I'm sure it was on your podcast, and afterwards I basically was like, do you know what? It's the first time I'm actually going to say out loud that I don't know. Did I even say it off air? I can't remember when I said it, but I basically turned around to you and said, I don't know how much of that story that I told you is
it was
the
on
truth.
the podcast,
I can't remember if it was off air or on the episode.
It was in the episode.
The actual facts of that story are, an ex-girlfriend pulled a knife out on me. I called the police. They're the actual facts.
What actually happened.
But then the rest of the stuff would have been a story that I created at that time to fit the narrative that I needed to. So every time I've told that story ever since, and most of the time I was in victim mode there, blaming her for a lot of things that have gone on in my life. Blame. So that story I'd created, that construct, would have fit that narrative, that story I told myself. So I got arrested. She got arrested. So in my head I'm like, I've then created this story where I'm the victim. Now again, core essence of that story, I am the victim. Like I did not do anything wrong in that situation. Then you take a look at the bigger picture. I knew nothing about mental health back then at all. And she massively suffered with severe anxiety and depression. I was on medication, wasn't taking meds, but I didn't know this at the time. So I look back at how I behaved. I was not creating a conducive environment for her in that state. I was doing the best with what I could, and I literally, at that time, there's nothing more I could have done.
Tools that you're equipped with.
Exactly. But I look back now, I'm like, actually, taking ownership, I could have done a lot better with the tools I have now. And I've looked back at that situation, I'm like, when I told you, that's the first time I ever told, when I said that on that podcast, the month, I was like, that's the first time I told that story and was like, I actually don't know what part of that story has and hasn't been made up. So again, it kind of ties into this. Whereas now, when I'm telling stuff, I always try to be as factual as possible. I try not to embellish it as much as you can, but we can't help it. Like whenever you try and tell stories,
it's entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah, we slightly try and turn it so
great
it's on our side.
connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people can relate to it. It's not boring. Oh, I hope this person finds the story boring, so you embellish it a little bit.
Did that help you let go of that past then? Do you know, not trying to embellish and live on it, you sort of told it in a very factual way. Does that help you sort of let go of it then?
I've let go of that a long time ago.
Yeah.
With that situation, I made peace with that a long, long time ago, that whole situation, because that was a very, again, not good part. And again, that is the catalyst that drove me to my darkest time. So again, that instant, she was not responsible for my depression, but after that, and after what happened there, that is when I fell off the cliff, and that is when I went to the dark place. It was not her, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that's why I just couldn't handle life anymore. That was it, because I literally was obsessed with her. Like, she was the perfect person. Like, I literally thought she came out of a fairy tale. But the way that I met her, because of how she was, I never met that person again.
Yeah.
So I met her on this weekend, the most incredible person ever, and I was hooked, and I never met that person again.
It's very poetic what you just said then.
And the whole thing, the whole relationship was an absolute car crash, but I did not know. Because again, I was the blind leading the blind. I was trying to help someone, but I couldn't help myself. I didn't realise how much I was struggling. And then when that happened, that was it. Like, fell off the cliff. But ever since then, I've done a lot of this stuff of like forgiveness, because I held a lot of hatred towards that situation. Completely let it go. I just haven't really spoke about that story. I also talk about it in schools. Yeah. I don't go into details. I can mention it really briefly. Oh, I had a really bad episode with this girlfriend. Bam, here's the depression. But it's actually when I told the story on your podcast where I was really like, actually, hold on a minute. From all this work I've done over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that part of the story, I actually don't know.
Sort of like, let me consider how I'm going to tell this story.
Yeah. So like I said, I come from that story now from a completely different place. That story in that time of my life, because before, like I said, I blamed her. And I look back at it, it's like, no. Like, she was not in the right frame of mind. She was not herself. Yeah. So I can't blame her at all. And I literally, the way I conducted myself, like, not in a bad way at all. I didn't do anything malicious or horrible in the slightest.
You were just holding on to meet that person again.
Absolutely. But I just didn't know how to deal with someone with that severe anxiety and depression. Yeah. I'd never met someone that had anxiety attacks like that to the extreme, where she'd lash out, where she'd scream the apartment out. I've never met that. Bizarre, mate, bizarre. I don't know how we got this conversation.
I'm
but anyway,
guessing
the point,
that,
back to the book.
Yeah.
Really good to just separating yourself from what's actually going on. Absolutely brilliant. What a really, really good deep
What's
book.
that quote you always say? You're not the voice in your head, that you're the one that sees the voice.
Yeah. You're not the voice inside your head, you're the one that's listening.
Yeah, I really like that. One of the guests you've got lined up, Jamie, coming on the podcast, mentioned this book. This is his saviour from alcoholism, his was.
Well, from this book?
Yeah, literally.
I can see it. I can 100% see it. It's a very, very good book, which is why I wanted to
He mentions
write about it
every single time we meet. So make sure when you do that podcast, bring that out.
But for a lot of people, it'd be a bit too much, which is why I start off with it. I've been brilliant for my clients. Yeah. Because that kind of like entertains the idea of things. Yeah. Whereas if, just imagine, like, out of the blue, you're talking about this voice inside your head. Most people don't even know. Was it Aaron on the podcast, on the radio, literally said to us off air, do you guys have a voice inside your head? Do you remember he said that? He didn't realise? Yeah. Because some people genuinely listen to this won't realise that that everyone has this voice inside their head. So it can be a bit too much for some people, which is why I don't start with this book. But this is one of my all-time favourite books ever. Ever. But start off with something a little bit lighter, like The Art of Being Brilliant, get a bit of an understanding of it, and then you can sort of go into this sort of stuff.
Are we saying The Art of Being Brilliant is like IKEA flat pack, and then The Untethered Soul is more a blueprint?
More like that's like a custom, like mahogany table, bespoke.
But in terms of piecing it together, there's a lot more to work with.
Yes,
there.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I said
Yeah.
it's a really it adds a lot of meat to the bones.
Yeah, I get you.
And I said, and the audio book of it.
I wasn't
really
being
good as well.
dismissive to being brilliant in flat pack,
but again, it's understanding what the book is.
Yes.
Like the Art of Being Brilliant is not meant to be like the Untethered Soul.
Yes.
It's not meant to be like it says a journey beyond yourself. That is literally what it says in the title. Whereas the Art of Being Brilliant, what does it say?
Accessible.
What does it say? Here we go. 6 common sense principles to transform your life.
Yeah, okay,
So it's
brilliant.
to understand like what it's meant to be. Oh, here we go. So the Art of Being Brilliant, transforming your life by doing what works for you. That's what that title says.
Yeah.
And then you've got this here, the Untethered Soul, a journey beyond yourself.
I
Very
can
different
imagine
books.
why Andy Cope's quite a big hit in schools, because I've been in some of the staff rooms and there's a lot of mood hoovers and energy vampires in there. So I suppose when he wrote about that and mentions it, it's so relatable. People see it every single day, and it's not just schools. It's obviously in an office environment, at the gym, wherever you're at.
Yep.
But predominantly, you see it and hear of it in schools, quite bitchy places.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's how I'm imagining why it does so well in schools.
Yes, like I said, it is a very, very good book. The back of the book here says, who are you really? What would it be like to be free from limitation and soar beyond your boundaries? What can you do each day to find this kind of inner peace and freedom? The Untethered Soul offers a simple, profound, intuitive answer to these questions. Whether it is your first expression of inner space or you've devoted your life to inward journey, this book will transform your relationship with yourself and the world around you.
Ooh. And who's the author again?
Michael Asinger.
Nice.
Absolutely brilliant book. Absolutely incredible.
Fantastic.
And the final book,
Hey,
which you noticed here, is
here
The
we
Four
go.
Agreements.
Yes.
So this I think
This is a lot of people's go-to, isn't
this is
it?
a very, very, very good book. Anything by Don Miguel Ruiz. I think his son as well started writing. I'm not sure. I've not read any of his books. But again, there's a little section here. What have we got?
Hey.
The Mastery of Love and The Voice of Knowledge. So again, the Four Agreements here and The Voice of Knowledge is also a brilliant book. So anything by Don Miguel Ruiz, I strongly recommend. It's basically about tolic wisdom. And basically, tolic wisdom, basically ancient Mexican, South American traditions. But this book here, The Four Agreements, basically is about the four agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. So basically, just 4 principles to live by. So again, read the back of the book here. In the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz reveals a source of self-limiting beliefs that rob us of joy and create needless suffering. Based on ancient Tolic wisdom, the Four Agreements offer a powerful code of conduct that can rapidly transform our lives to the new experience of freedom, true happiness, and love. And again, on the back here, when you've got people like Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra leaving things of this. But I think I originally came across his book on the BBC website when Lewis Hamilton read this book. He said it helped change his life. So I was just like, okay. So I then gave it a read. Really, really easy to understand.
I didn't know Lewis Hamilton was that deep.
No, so again,
Wayne
it's a really small, easy book.
Yeah.
It's 140 pages.
Deepak's on this one as well.
Deepak again.
He's all over the place.
Yeah. It's a really simple, easy to read book. These books are not hard books to read.
Yeah.
So, for example, there's another book I could have put in here called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. But that is a deep, hard read.
It's a good listen, though.
It's not a good listen. He's
it was for
He's
me.
boring as hell.
I needed it at that
moment.
moment.
If you listen to that book on audio, and you're not listening to it on double speed, he will send you to sleep. So if you're struggling to sleep, listen to that. Listen to anything with Eckhart Tolle because his voice is just boring.
I know what you're saying.
The content is incredible, but I would always read that book rather than listen to it because the audiobook is just so dry and drab.
I do remember I was in a really weird place, and he was one of these voices where I thought, just this calm in my life. But that was because it was festivals and movement and fast stuff and chaos. Yeah. And then to have that sort of gentle attitude. So maybe it wouldn't suit many people, but because of where I was in that state of mind, it was the put me to sleep sort of element. I would listen to it to bed. And
but it's such a heavy book. That's why it's not made my list. Because again, that was one of the books that changed my life. Absolutely undoubtedly, but it's so heavy, so heavy.
That parable at the start, though,
you really have to be in a deep, open place to read that, which is why it's not on here.
Yeah.
Once you've read these 4 books, you're probably in a place of I want to go down that route. Again, just throw yourself into it. Like, do it if you want to, then cool through it. I'm not saying don't do that at all. What I'm saying is it's a very, very deep, hard to digest book. If you haven't done any other work and understanding of stuff, it will make no sense.
Yeah.
So when you talk about energy, for example, because the Power of Now, it talks about being present in the moment. like, well, what does that mean? Why is it important to be present in the moment? Well, again, if you read some of the stuff here about the voices inside your head, all the energies, like all these things, it kind of makes more sense, and you can actually take it for what it is rather than being a bit confused. That makes sense. But yeah, the Four Agreements, again, going off a massive track, the Four Agreements, a really, really good book. Really enjoyed that.
Again, later down the line of development, or when did this book come into your life?
I've only just recently read this book.
Oh, really?
So during the second lockdown. So
Oh.
less than a year ago I've read that book. So I've only read it once. But yeah, during one of the lockdowns, lockdown 2, when I actually went into the office, but it's just me in the gym by myself every single morning. I'd read that book. And then I've worked through that book, and then read the Book of Knowledge, and then the Book of Love.
And out of the 4 agreements, was there one that particularly worked for you and sort of more resonated with, this is the one that I've been missing out my life, or not been...
It kind of ties a lot of things together, but not taking things personally is a big one.
Yeah, that's for most, I think.
Yeah, like a lot of people take things personally.
Yeah.
But the way he articulates that about the dangers of doing that and how not to do that is very, very powerful. But again, always doing your best. Again, don't make assumptions. I learned that a long time ago. Again, don't make assumptions. You can make an ass out of you and me.
I love that saying.
I knew that. But again, being impeccable with your words is also a big thing. To be true to your word, that's also a big thing where, again, we all fall short on that. But that's something I do really try to be. Just to say what I mean. That's what we talked about, being impeccable with your word, basically saying what you mean.
And does he mean carry out what you say you're going to do as well?
Yeah, basically, yes.
Yeah.
Like, basically, just speak with integrity.
Because I've got a lot of flakes in my life at times.
Basically speak say what's on your mind, and avoid using words that speak against yourself and gossip.
Huh.
So don't, again, like your words, don't speak badly about yourself. Don't gossip. Like with your words, understand the power of words. Because again, law of attraction, the words that you use, if you're putting out negativity, guess what we're going to get back? If you're speaking negatively of yourself, guess what? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Casting spells.
Yeah. And again, I think I spoke about this on the podcast before, or if I haven't, I've definitely done a workshop with my clients. Understand that, again, when we speak, like right now when I'm doing this podcast, I said I've been in the flow state. I'm going to have to listen back to this. I can't remember half the stuff I've said. When I'm on the radio, like last week when I was on
good
one,
stuff, mate.
I don't know what I'm talking about, genuinely.
Yeah.
I just got off on one. So when Aaron asked me, I was like, brrr. So this is why I have to go back. But the thing is because my conscious brain can't think quickly enough.
Yeah.
So when I'm in that flow state, when I said to you earlier on, I don't really know, I'm just on one.
This is what I truly mean.
It's my subconscious is talking to you, the listeners. Again, Mikey can attest this. If you ever see me public speak or anything, like when I'm in my flow state like this, I am genuinely don't understand what I'm talking about. I'm just talking. It's just coming to me. And again, you hear a lot of my guests talk about it. It just comes, like the energy comes, it flows through. This is what this.
And that's because you filled your whole life with this sort of material.
I love it because it's helped change my life.
Yeah.
And this is what I said before. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counsellor. I don't claim to be. But I will talk with therapists and counsellors. I will talk to the top people about this because I love it and I live for it.
Yeah.
And I've literally dedicated my life to this. Like this is me. Once I was reading these books, I'm not one of these people that reads these self-help books and like, oh, mental health. Like, I literally am obsessed with this stuff. Not for necessarily anybody else, but for me.
Why are there 2 categories of people of, like, for me and you, when you're talking to me about it, I'm getting revved up and I'm so excited about it. But why are there people that hate it as well? Sort of that really don't want to hear it and it's too fluffy and spirit and woo-woo and all that. And then there's us that absolutely live and die and breathe for it.
But it depends what people mean by like woo-woo. Like what do people mean by that? Because this is the thing where, again, this is why Betty was so powerful when she came on. The more I go down this rabbit hole, like genuinely a book I'm reading from 1900 whatever the hell I said it was, it understands that if I read it out now and said when was this written? Do you think it was written today? Like we've literally gone backwards as a society. We think we've got the most technology, like gadgets, phones and stuff like that. But as an actual species, we've gone backwards about discovering who we actually truly are. So people say it's woo-woo. Why do you think it's woo-woo? Have you ever done it? If the answer is no, and you are saying this is woo-woo, this doesn't work, it's fluffy, okay, have you done it? If the answer is no, then someone has told you that it's fluffy and that it's woo-woo. So again, ask yourself, have they done it? If the answer is no, keep going. And then what you find is they've heard it on the radio or they've seen it on a movie or someone said something. Okay, do it for yourself. If you're genuinely struggling, try this stuff and tell me that it doesn't work. The difference is, the reason why it's fluffy and it's woo-woo is because people encourage people to play the victim and not take action. So if you're going to read these self-help books and do nothing with it, then guess what? It is woo-woo. Guess what? It's not going to work. So with these books, like I said, I think we laughed about this on the radio. Like, you should only really read one self-help book in your life. If you keep reading self-help books, then you're not getting the point. The reason why I read them is because I enjoy taking the information and applying it to what I already know. I take action on the books. So if you want to read any of these books and they think they're going to help change your life, I promise you, if you're just going to read them and do nothing with it, it is woo-woo. Because you have to actually do something. You can't read a book here about the journey beyond yourself and then do nothing with it. You can't read a book on ancient Tolic wisdom and then be like, oh, be careful with your words, and then start spewing crap straight afterwards. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And again, it's not going to be an instant change, but you have to, like I did there when I was reading back through the book and actually taking notes on summarising the chapter myself, reading a chapter, summarising it. Do I actually understand what this chapter's saying to me? Yes or no? That's just stuff there. When it comes to anything, I guess like hiring a coach. If you hire a coach and think just because you've hired a coach, you're going to get results, you're living in a fantasy world. So there's two camps, and normally it's the people who think it's woo-woo and people that haven't actually done it or don't really get it, or have been brainwashed and indoctrinated to think that it is hippie and woo-woo, which again is what Betty talks about. But once you understand what we're actually meant to be as human beings and the power that we actually have, and understand that now science is backing it up, you understand there's a lot of stuff out there. But when it comes to self-help books, also understand that it's a buzzword. People like to just throw these things out there, and a lot of the stuff isn't. Look at the bestsellers. Look at ones that have been around for a very, very long time. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, for example. Great book. Why is it such a great book? Because it's been around for ages. The Alchemist, great book, been around for ages. Why? The Untethered Soul. Why do so many people recommend it? Because they're books that actually work.
Yeah.
Again, Think and Grow Rich. Again, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Think and grow rich. Think. Power of the mind. Law of attraction. Think and grow rich. It says it in the title. So with stuff like this, I understand that the books are out there, but you have to do something with the information. It's all well and good going to these seminars, these workshops, reading books.
Yeah.
And I used to be the same with this. You go there, you get absolutely G'd up, and then you do nothing with the information.
Pray it just happens for you.
And then I need to go to the next one.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with Tony Robbins' course. The thing with that is, I spent all my money on it. He literally says, do not press play on this tape. Again, tape, that's how bloody old it was, until you've done the things I've told you to do. So guess what? I did the things he told me to do. Guess what? They worked.
Yeah.
Michael Logier in the book, do these exercises. Okay, Michael, do the exercises. Guess what? It works.
Yeah.
So there's no coincidence that it worked. It worked because I did what they told me to do.
Yeah.
Mini rant again.
Mate, you've absolutely smashed that. Yeah, go football and so on, and I'm not trying to convert people, but they'll talk in a very negative light, and then you just give them a bit of philosophy or psychology or just a bit of a deeper chat than they're probably used to, and it's, oh, you're deep, aren't you? Bloody hell, calm down, mate, whatever. And you go, I'll stay on your base level for this. I'll just get the football in and go and find my people and my tribe to have them conversations with. Just find it very interesting, and maybe it's because they're comfortable in that sort of tepid zone, and they've not been in enough pain.
You can't wake someone that's pretending to be asleep.
Yeah, that's cool.
So with these people, like, if they live a comfortable, happy life, they don't want to know.
Yeah.
Like, why would they want to?
It's more like a stone in the shoe sort of life, isn't it?
If their life is, they think, but they don't really care enough to find out.
Yeah, they know something's there.
But again, some people literally wake up, they work their job 9 to 5.
Yeah.
They come home.
Yeah.
They have some pints down the pub with their mates.
Yeah.
They watch football at the weekend.
Bam.
And they are happy as Larry.
Yeah.
It's like living in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Cool. You can't wake someone to pretend to be asleep. They're happy. They're happy. Just leave them. Like, it's not our place. Because we're looking at them and we know that there's more to that. But who are we to tell someone how to live their life?
I completely agree. That was a big lesson for me.
Yeah. So they're there. I let people. I do not force this. This is the podcast. I do not care if anyone listening to this thinks I'm an idiot. Doesn't. I'm here for that one person. And I said from day one, this podcast is for that one person I can help. Yeah. So if you think this is woo-woo, you think it's crap, and you think I'm cool, that's honestly absolutely fine by me. I don't need anyone to tell me this stuff works, because it does. And this is why I put so much time, energy, and effort into this podcast. It's why I hire you. It's why it costs me money, because I'm trying to get this information out there for the people that actually want it. Yeah. If people don't want to listen, I completely respect that. But I'm never going to force anything upon anyone. I'm never, ever going to. If you're happy with your life, please, by all means, carry on. But if you think something's missing, try just doing these things. Try actually taking some action. Rather than listening to me or watching some YouTube videos or anything else that you see out there, actually try taking some action. Make it a sole mission for you for 30 days. If you're that desperate, what have you got to lose? But for 30 days, pick something, read a book, listen to a podcast, and just action the steps that are in there and see how much your life changes. Even just a small little bit. Yeah. And again, I get it's hard to do. I fully understand that. But just understand that, like, you have to take control. Like, no one is coming on a white horse to save you. And that's also a big thing that I had to learn. No one is coming to save me. No one is coming to give me the life that I want. No one. You can't do it. No one can. You can say to me, oh, Danny, I'm going to edit this podcast and make it and to get 1 million views. You still can't make my life how I want it to be. Because if you don't do that, And I decide, no, sod it.
Yeah.
And then I come on here and start talking some crazy stuff, like crazy stuff, like absolute, do you know what I mean, like nut job stuff.
Yeah.
Then it ruins all the hard work. Only I can do what I need to do.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, it's so bizarre. When you understand that you have the power to take control of your life, and only you're responsible for it, and no one has come to save you, and no one owes you anything, it's completely freeing. Because then you're not relying on someone else. And that's what I was doing my entire life. I was waiting for someone to show me the way. I was waiting for someone to drag me through. And the closest I came to that was Tony Robbins. And again, came out of thin air. The universe provided. But no one actually showed up physically to help me. I had to, again, take a risk, spend that £200, and then action those steps. I did that. Tony Robbins didn't do that. I did that. I'm responsible for exactly where I am right now. There's people who have helped me along the way, 100%. But I had to do the work.
Yeah. You have to be ready for the information and susceptible to it.
I had to actually listen to it, put my ego to one side and actionise it. That's it. So that's it. When it comes to your life, like right now, like understand you have the power. It should be completely empowering to you. And it's understanding if you feel like you're useless and you're no good and you don't trust yourself, it's because you honestly have not been taught the skills. So understand you can do it. It's like we've got this amazing computer and we haven't been taught how to use it. It's not your fault, but again, action steps. Read the user manual. No one has the actual manual, but people have had a pretty good guess and given you some like little insights and snippets. Read it. Read the user manual.
The answers are out there.
The answers are out there. People want to help people.
I'm going to ask you this question now. You ready for this?
Go on then.
You're going on a desert island.
Yeah.
You can only take one of those books with you.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to take?
The Untethered Soul.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the big. Yeah. That's the one where Dan really builds with you.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Out of all those books, that's the deepest book.
Yeah. Okay.
That is the deepest book.
So was there another book in that bookshelf there that could have come on here?
I'll make loads. Let me just turn around from this microphone. Let me see if I can quickly turn around. Like, honestly, the amount of books that are on here.
Yeah.
So, of course, the top one here, 7 Habits Highly Effective People. We've got The Alchemist, like I said there. Got another one here, The Perennial Philosophy, which basically talks about how all the religions have got the same core essence. We've got all the Ticheney handbooks here. Make loads. Atomic Habits, The Chimp Paradox, The Daily Stoic, great book. Sumo, again, Paul Cope. Vex King. There's 2 Vex King books on here. Mate, honestly, there's, again, A Difference Maker. Again, John Maxwell. This is, again, I've read this book multiple times. It's all annotated. This book here, The Difference Maker, by John C. Maxwell, talks about your attitude. And I actually read that when I was at American University.
Nice.
Again, didn't realise how deep that book was. When I started down this journey, I went to reread it. Brilliant book. Got another book here by Paul Cope called Zest. What else have we got? Grit. That's a good book. Starts with Why. Honestly, mate, there's hundreds. Like this isn't even on my books.
So, but literally, the Untethered Soul, top trumps.
That's it. I'm trying to think. Cause I'm trying to. When you said about these books here, I basically got books that I thought that people would be interested.
Okay.
That people would use, but there's so many. But yeah, out of all of them, because even then, that book that I spoke about the other day, Reality Transurfing, that's super deep. Again, got all the Russell Brand books that you mentioned there. Mate, honestly, there's so many. Honestly.
I like it. We're going to have to keep doing every so often.
If I read another good book, I'll recommend it.
We've got our podcast that we do together, but I do think maybe every 3 months, 4 months, we do another book one.
Yep.
Because the book ones, people can really take that away with them.
Yeah. And if anyone's listened to any of these books, by the way, and listened to this episode, if they've listened to any of these books or they've got recommendations, again, Daniel_James_fitness, tag me in the books and I'll share them so again we can help other people here. So again, other books, if you're listening to this and you could add on to this or you have read this, again, share it on your story, tag me in it, Daniel_James_fitness, and I'll share it again to help people with this. I think it's a really powerful episode we've done here today.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Where can people find out more information about you?
It's the Old Farm Bus or Rhythmical Mike. I won't do all 15.
I'll get you to put it on the bottom of the screen again as well. And again,
work.
don't forget, if you liked or take any value from today's episode, please don't forget to like and share it with a friend. Again, help us to spread the word to help as many people as possible. Again, I know you guys will hope you found some value here. If you look in the show notes, I'm going to put a link to all of these books. And actually what I'm going to do is I've actually got a store on Amazon. It's like a shop front that basically is all the books I recommend to all my clients. So if in the show notes, click on that and it will literally tell you, it's all categorized as well, like business, self-help, the essentials. And again, the essentials are, off the top of my head, the essentials are, I think, Vex King, The Untethered Soul, and The Art of Being Brilliant. But again, it's all there, so you can look at it, and all of them is there. So
I've enjoyed today, mate. It's been a really good episode. Yeah, I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. So you guys take care, and don't know what I was going to say then. Take care. I've come back down to
Just take care, guys.
Just take care. Take care.
Take care.
Until next time.